What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Joined today with me is another very special guest. She was actually one of the first people to see my book before it turned into reality. So she was the first editor that I had on the book, and she gave me all this critique, and I was like, yo, I got to go back to the drawing board and like refocus and remake the concept. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell a little bit about yourself, your history, why you think you're here, and what you hope the audience gains from your story.
Well, my name is Erica Smith. Currently, I think I'm here because I just released a book like last July, I believe. And that book actually deals a lot with like revealing my story and my struggle with like mental health or religion, different trauma in the past, different things like that. So I constantly battle with my mental health. I still go to counseling, started taking antidepressants like last year. And so far, like I'm still learning how to like combat the negative thoughts and like focusing and like making myself better.
Okay. Then man, and I read what sparked me, and I don't want to give too much away, so up front, what made you write the book in the first place? There we go. Let's start there.
Well, I always wanted to write a book, but I didn't know what to write. So actually this book, before I actually released it, has like probably 4 or 5 different versions of it, which is why it took me so long to release it, because I think I've been writing it since like 2010.
Okay.
And like looking at those other versions, it just didn't feel right. It felt forced, and like the concept was more generic than it is now. So this book actually started off from my prayer journals, which of course in my prayer journals are just like pure thought of like me just talking to God and like getting things out. So that's how I started writing most of my poems. So actually this book was actually called Mirror Prayers before it became Dear Beautiful Woman. And then once I got that concept down, I was like, I need to be more honest with myself and I need to like open up more. So once I did that, then everything started falling into place. And then it felt more real to me to release this version of the book versus a different version of it.
What do you hope, and what was it? Make sure you say the name. I want to make sure they know to go look it up. It's on Amazon and everything. What's the name of the book?
The book is called Dear Beautiful Woman. It is on Amazon and it will be on Barnes and Noble pretty soon.
Okay. And what do you hope people receive, or I'm guessing for women, maybe men as well, because they need to understand the way women think and it'll help with the insight. But what did you hope the reader, there we go, let's go with the reader, receives from your book?
For my book, I just really want the reader to know that they're not alone. And I want them to kind of know that it's okay to be honest with yourself and to be honest about what you've been through. You don't have to tell other people about it, but as long as you're honest with yourself about what's happening with you, then that's the first step. Like other people, who cares? But like, if you're honest with yourself, that's the first start in like healing. To me, it was.
Well, I know, I haven't read the book and I'm going to get it. Hold me to it too. I'm going to get it because I love supporting. I know when we talked off air, like before you even released it, you were going through family issues as well. Whatever you feel comfortable sharing, you don't have to go into too much detail. But I know that played a portion into your reasoning of what you're going with your book, because I know what I told you I was having a problem with was dependency and feeling like I'm getting pulled in different directions and all that. And you was like, man, I know the same here. Like I know the struggle. So I mean, talk more about that and how it played in the portion of you writing the book in the first place.
So yeah, I'm still kind of going through family issues, more so medical issues. My mom recently had a stroke, her second stroke in December. And then we found out that she had heart failure. So we've been going through that since December. She literally just got out the hospital like this previous Monday. She had a ICD put on, which is a heart pacer. And she also had a pericardial window, which is like for fluid that builds up around the heart. They got to send the fluid somewhere else so it doesn't cause the heart to stop. So they had to put something else around, like, so she had her chest cut open like 3 times.
Wow.
But, you know, I see her like almost every day now, but so far she's like in a way better, much better mood since getting all of that done and getting her and stuff, because before it was a lot. So I also graduated with my master's in December on the 15th, and my mom had her stroke on the 18th. Oof. And then my birthday was December 23rd, so I'm spending my birthday and like Christmas at the hospital because my mom was in the hospital. And then it was just like going back and forth to the hospital, back and forth to rehab, because, you know, of course, when you have a stroke, your motor skills kind of get messed up. And so it was that, and then finding out that she had heart failure and all this other stuff. So that like really put a strain on the work and the schedule I have for myself, like the achievements that I wanted to do in 2019. I was supposed to be starting on my second book, which I did, but I slowed down a whole lot, and it threw me off of my schedule or like rotation for it because of like worrying about my mom and all this other stuff. I also switched jobs, so that kind of like messed me up with going to counseling. So I recently just started going to counseling like last month. Again, and taking antidepressants again as well. But like during that time where it was like I felt like I was lonely and I had nobody, I tried, like I know myself well enough to know when I'm slipping.
Right.
So I downloaded this app called Simple Habit, which is a guided meditation app. You can do meditation for 5 minutes every day or every night, how many times you want to do it. So I did that morning, after work, before I went to bed. And then I started going to the gym a lot more. For me, the gym is like a stress reliever. It's not for everybody, but for me, that's what it's been like the past couple of months, like 3 to 5 times a week, the gym for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so far with the book, a lot of my book stems from family and past relationships. And it's kind of like me talking to me, or me talking to Black men, or me talking to Black women. But most of it is like me talking to me. And some of them you will see is like me talking to God about things I need to kind of like let go, or I'm willing, or I'm ready to reveal, or ready to let go. So it really, like, writing the book was therapeutic for me, like releasing that. And like even like once I wrote the book, I found myself being way more honest with people about who I was. So like when people ask me questions, I'm like, yeah, I've been there. Like I've been homeless. Like I've been so and so. Like you can make it. So right now I'm working with like college students who are about, I want to say 18 to 24. And they're like, they go through a lot. And you would like I know we went through a lot, but they go through a lot. Like you would think they would have lived like 5 lifetimes by now with all the stuff that they go through, like not having food, not having like enough money, schoolwork. And I'm like, yeah, I've been there. Like remember working like 3 jobs in college, working full, like basically I was working full time in college, schoolwork, all this stuff, and trying to keep your grades up. Like, yeah, that like makes a complete strain on your life. So yeah.
Well, you touched on it briefly, and if it's some of the same thing, you could just say it again. How were you able to cope with the fact that you were having family issues as well as still graduating, still working, about to start your second book? Because even in itself, like you said, you didn't do it the way you wanted to do, but you're still working towards it. And some people let family issues, stuff that's going on in their mind and things that just stop them completely. So how are you able to cope and be able to move forward?
Honestly, there were some days where I wasn't coping with it healthy. So in, I want to say December, I started having like suicidal thoughts again. And this is something that I've been dealing with probably since I was 8. And then once I realized that, then I know like who to call. or what to do if that happens. But I also know it's not real, and I know it's brought on by stress. So there are definitely some days where it's just like, this is too much, like all these family drama, all these family issues, got a sick mom, like, but then I was like, well, I know I'm not ready to leave this world. So because I have this goal to do, I want to do this. I want to write my second book, or I want to graduate. I want to go get a PhD. Like, I want to become a college professor. So those things to me weighed more than anything else, than the negative. So if you can like think about the positive more than you can think about the negative, then you can switch the story.
You talked about antidepressants. One of the big things that I was afraid of when I was having my mental struggles and issues, and still to this day, I'm not even gonna say I stopped. I am terrified of getting hooked onto pills, and I know you a big Meek fan. Like, he talk about that perks and how big it is in our community and stuff like that. How is the experience, I should ask, and what can you tell from the inside that a person like myself on the outside don't know about?
This part of the podcast is sponsored by True Life and Health Coaching. The True Life and Health Coaching focuses on the whole person by first developing a program from your body. The program was developed of the belief from years of research and studies that your spirit, mind, and body works together to fulfill your life's purpose. The one-on-one online coaching gives you a specially designed workout plan, individualized meal plan, and other essentials for designing your ideal life. The goal is for you to enjoy your new and transformed body with transformational coaching. True Life and Health Coaching was founded by Joe Burnett, who is a friend of the Black Mental Health Podcast. He was on episode 6 of the podcast where he shared his story and journey with mental health. So make sure you check that episode out when you get a chance. For more information about Joe Burnett and True Life and Health Coaching, go to truelifeandhealth.com and tell them Red sent you. This portion of the podcast is also sponsored by With Love from Nina. What does a new mom and wife do when she realizes she feels helpless and hopeless with no one who understands this new journey ahead of her, all while battling an unresolved path? She gives her words wings so she can heal herself and others. The self-proclaimed hope dealer, Nina Blaylock, decided to bring the stories around her and in her to life with her new book, With Love from Nina. The mission of With Love from Nina is to fuel the body, enrich the spirit, touch and enlighten the soul, free the mind, warm the heart, and as a whole being, leave you inspired. A portion of each purchase goes to the I Hope Fund, which is designated to aid women and girls in restoring hope in their lives by giving them a helping hand through the generosity of hope dealers like yourself. Nina is a friend of the Black Mental Health Podcast. She was on episode 5 where she shared her story and journey with mental health. So make sure you check that episode out when you get a chance. For more information about Nina Blaylock and her book, With Love from Nina, go to withlovefromnina.wordpress.com and tell her Red sent you. Now let's get back in the episode.
Yeah, everybody is like terrified of antidepressants. Like everybody who I talk to, and I was literally the same way. I think like since 2010, counselors have been recommended me to take antidepressants. I'm like, no, I don't want it, because I didn't know how it was going to change me. And so it took until like 2018 for me to actually start taking them. And my counselor started me like on the low doses, like somewhere where I'm comfortable at. And so I started taking them, and I really just started like noticing that it didn't change anything about me, but I noticed that my thoughts weren't as scattered as they used to be, because I used to think like all types of craziness, like crazy scenarios, all types of stuff throughout like every day. And that was the reason I wanted to get on antidepressants. But the thing is, with antidepressants, they can be dangerous for you as well. Like, they can induce suicidal thoughts, which is weird, because it's like, this is an antidepressant. This is something I don't want to think about. Why would this heighten it? But for me, that was the opposite, because I wasn't just taking antidepressants to stop the depression, because that's not how it works. It just helps you, but you also have to do other stuff along with it. So, like I said, I still meditate. I still go to the gym. I still make time to like do self-care days. Like, I love going to the movies, so my self-care day is like going to the movies and watching and just sitting there and just watching a movie. or like just going for a walk or like going downtown or something. So you can't just take the antidepressant and think it's going to work magic, because it really, like, if you start it, you won't really notice a difference because you're still like moving day by day and stuff. Like for me, I thought I was going to be a zombie or something on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it was. Like I still fully function, everything like that. But I noticed I can like get my work done more, because before it started to get extremely hard for me to focus. And that was another reason why I wanted to take it, because it was so difficult for me to focus on work. And then once I did that, then I noticed like, oh yeah, like now I can finish this. Or because I was at the point I was writing my thesis, like my portfolio, and it's not as big as a thesis paper, but I still had to write 3 papers, all about 22 pages each. And there was like a lot of like, writing, like there's a lot of editing. The editing process is like the worst part of it. And it was like, I need to focus on this. So I just like take my antidepressants, make my schedule, go to the gym, still do self-care, all the while like my mom was still in the hospital. So like it helped as I was helping myself. Yeah. It's not like, I would just say if you ever want to try it, start with a low dosage and see for a little while, see what happens.
Right. Self-care is so important, and people put it on the back burner because I don't know. I just had a quote today. I wish I could find it, but it was saying like it's not a bad thing to put yourself first. Like we look at it as a bad thing because of I don't know, like it makes you look selfish. But if you're not right, it's literally it's like it's cliche as it sounds like, but if you're not right, you can't be right for anybody else. Oh, here we go. The quote says, "You aren't a selfish person for taking care of yourself first, just a happier one." And we don't look at it like that because we look at it as like I'm being stingy, and it's like no, you have to be cool so that way you can be cool for the other people that you're trying to be selfless for. So I salute you for even recognizing that, because a lot of us don't take the time out to really pay attention and like know your cues. Like it's okay to like you said, take that day and just do nothing or do stuff that relaxes you or feel comfortable enough for you. We so on go, 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 go. And it's like, yo, your body can't run without resting.
I remember we talked about that before. Like, it's okay to be like, I was in that transition of being selfish in a way. I was like putting myself first before anybody else because people kept like calling me for stuff. And I don't think they noticed how it was affecting me, or whether I don't even think they cared that it was. They just needed what they needed versus recognizing what I needed. And at the time, what I needed was just to relax and not to be on edge the whole time. I don't think I forget who was it. I think my dad might have been in the hospital. So I do have 2 sick parents. So they go like kind of like back and forth to the hospital. But I learned like I used to feel guilty if I didn't go up to the hospital. I used to feel guilty if I didn't drive somebody somewhere or like help somebody out or something. But sometimes I still feel that way. But I'm like, yo, like I need to take care of myself because I can feel my body exhausted. I can feel myself getting sick because, if you don't get enough sleep, you get sick. And like I can feel myself like slipping. I'm not doing what I want to do for these projects. I can feel myself like kind of taking steps back. So once this is why I think it's so important to have that conversation with yourself, because you can like once you can recognize the signs, then you can make a step faster to correcting it. So that's why I started doing my self-care days again. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the gym for like an hour or 2. After that, if I have time, then I'm going to come up to the hospital and visit. If I don't have time, then I'm just going to call her. Like I know she's okay because the hospital didn't call me as her emergency contact. So I know she's doing fine. But like, there's only so much that you can do. And honestly, like you got this one life. You should honestly just live this life for yourself. It's okay to help other people, but you should still do the things that you want to do. Like, say if you want to travel, like go somewhere at least once a year or something. Like, take those steps. Like, people, like, especially if you're dealing with people who constantly call you or constantly like complaining or something, they're going to be that same way tomorrow because they're not trying to fix themselves. So there's only like so much you can do. Once they recognize like, oh, I need to really start taking care of myself, then that's the step that they can take. But like, you can't help somebody through their own healing process while you like, that's not going to work. Like, even like in relationships, I like found myself like guys who I would talk to, they were still
broken.
Like, they would all have this same story, and it was just like, okay, like, what are you doing to fix it? Like, are you like, you're complaining you don't have no money, but you buy weed like every week, so how do you not have money? Like like, what are you doing to fix yourself? Like, and that would like be a turn off for me, and just be like, okay, like, I'm just gonna do this and go elsewhere. Yeah.
Nah, it's so many thoughts just ran by, because what you said is so important, and I hope people take heed to it, because I had a person tell me a long time ago, maybe about 6 years ago, what's the purpose of not using somebody? Like, well, if they're gonna keep giving, why wouldn't I keep taking? And it's like, why would, if I'm gonna keep getting, why would I stop and say, no, you're giving me too much? We're selfish individuals at the end of the day. So if you're gonna keep giving, they gonna keep pulling. It's up to you. After a while, it stopped becoming, and I know you recognize that, it stopped becoming the other person's fault, and it's your fault, because you in control of that. Like, you in control of how much time, how much money, how much everything that they get. And after a while, you just cut it off, and in the beginning you have like a bitterness towards it, because it's like, no, F all y'all, like, I'm not doing anything. But now you know how to manage it and control it, and like you said, you don't have to just like, all right, I'm not going to see my mom at all, I'm doing me. It's like, all right, a phone call does just as suffice. Like, it happens the same exact way. And that's how I feel about me. It was like, I wanted to get pulled, mind you. I tried, and I know I couldn't do it. I tried to be the replacement for the men that weren't in the woman of my life. That I tried to be that man for everybody. And it was like, bro, you getting pulled too many ways. You can't be, you can be partially a son, you can be partially a fiance, you can be partially an uncle, but you can't be the daddy figure for each and every individual.
Yeah. That's not fair to you as a person. Like, I think that was one of the reasons I started, like, once I started like recognizing my signs, I started getting annoyed with myself the most, because I recognized like I was enabling a lot of people. Like, yeah, they were like using me, but like I allowed them to. And it was just like, I started asking myself, like, why didn't I just stop it? Like, why didn't I just walk away? Or like, why didn't I just like do something different? And like, I still don't know the answer, like what made me do it. Like, I know I'm a kind person and a caring person, and sometimes that puts me in situations where I shouldn't be in. But at the same time, it's just like, Erica, like, what were you doing? Like, you could have like been walked away. Like, this person clearly is just like somebody who just out to use people. And it's just like, you're better than that. Like, you need to save all of that for yourself, because this person need to learn how to take care of themselves. Like, I'm not one of those people who feel comfortable having other people take care of me, because it doesn't sit right with me. It's just like, no, I need to do this for myself. Because what happens if I'm like truly in a like lonely, alone situation, I wouldn't know how to do nothing for myself. Like, I wouldn't know how to get myself out of certain situations or something. That's how my mindset is. So it doesn't make sense to me when I see people who are like they're just so dependent on others. Like, sometimes I understand that you need that help, but if there are certain things you can do, you should do it. But then there are just some people who just don't do anything at all, and it's just like, I can't do that. So yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of weird, because like I started getting annoyed with myself. And there's actually a poem in my book that is me talking to God about, because there was a time where I was like blaming God for putting me in certain situations. And then I realized, I'm like, no, that's not your fault. That's my fault. Like, I should never been there. So like, I would say, like, if you like, leave that situation for sure.
You talk a lot about the impact of religion and like your struggles with it and how you went back and forth. Touch more into that, because I know a lot of us, especially with the Black community, when we go through stuff, we turn to God or we turn to the churches, and then some questions that we don't feel like God can answer, and they be like, don't question God. So talk about your experience with religion, because I had my own. I talk about it in my book that I had to come back to God and know, like, before it was the same thing. It's like, man, I'm cutting him off. I'm cutting the idea of it off, and then you realize like certain things show you that God is real. And you just have to go through and learn it for yourself. But talk about your experience.
I'm not like extremely religious. Like I don't go to church often. I don't read the Bible, but I have Bible. So I would say I'm probably like more spiritual. It's like I recognize that there are certain things that just like you just can't explain. Like, but my thing was, I've always believed, but I always had like this complex, like, oh, if this is happening to me, then it's because you want it to happen to me. Then why? Like, so what's so wrong with me that bad things keep happening? So that was my whole thing. But then, as a way to stay connected, like I started these prayer journals, which are just like regular journals that you can like get out of like CVS or something, and then you just write. Every journal entry is like a journal entry to whoever you want it to be to, but it really just became me talking to myself as I thought like God was listening to it. So it was like almost kind of like me manifesting. Like, it's like, Erica, this person isn't good for you, so why do you keep doing it? And then at the end, it would be like, God, please give me the strength to do so and so, or please watch over this person, something like that. But that, like, me doing that is the reason I was so honest with this book. And then even when I do go to church, I go to church to just listen. Like, sometimes I just want to listen, or sometimes I just really want to sit inside of an empty church, just because it allows me to think more. Because to me, like, listening to a pastor is actually very poetic. Like, the Bible is actually extremely poetic. I just can't sit down. It's just like, but like, my struggle was like just going back and forth with questioning why certain things were happening to me. If God is supposed to be like this all caring person, but then at the same time, it was like God wouldn't take you to do something if you couldn't get through it. So knowing that helped me realize my own strength, because like I've been through a lot, and then I've also gotten through all of it. So I'm now at like a certain place where it's like, I know I'm going through this because I can handle it.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to handle this, but I know I can't. So yeah, that's kind of like my realization with religion. It's like, you want to be going through this if you couldn't, and because I've been through so much, it helped me realize my strength and what I can handle as just like a person.
That's powerful. I was waiting to touch on this, but you put it on social media, and I want to be careful with it because it was your experience. You get to tell it how you want, but you talked about a sexual experience that you posted. Whatever portion or whatever, it was like, I think gang rape, I think. Whatever portion, whatever. Listen, those are touchy subjects, and I only feel comfortable saying that because you would put it on social media. If you told me in private, I would have never said nothing about it. But talk about that experience. You talk about college students and you working with them. I know that's something that they go through and stuff and experience. So, just take it away. I don't want to say anything to mess anything up.
No, so actually in the book, like the second poem is about that experience. When I was 20, I was gang raped in college. And like that, like after it happened, of course, like me talking to the police, they make it seem like it was your issue. Because they're like college cops, like they don't want to be bothered, which is crazy to me, because you're supposed to be on this campus for some reason. But so I never like formally reported it. And then that night, I was like really ready to just like end it all. But I don't know, like something just kind of snapped in me. Like I wanted my college degree more than I wanted to be that person, like that victim. So like the next day I ended up getting up and just going on throughout life like nothing happened. But I also went to the counseling center and told them. And that's kind of like what really sparked my me going to counseling, because of course like I think I've always kind of been in a place where I like recognize myself, but I knew I wasn't strong enough to deal with that myself. But I also never reached out to anybody in my family because I knew they weren't going to help either. So like it's always just kind of been me with this battle, but I still go through it. But I would say like from 20 to almost 26, it was like every day waking up, reliving that same situation and not fully knowing how to help myself, if that makes sense. Because that is like a scary and very traumatic situation. So once I finally found like the correct counselor, because just going to counseling, like you can go to any counselor, but you got to find a correct counselor who like is willing to like step out of the box and kind of like look for different resources and listen to your story and find like keywords and be like, this is what I hear from you. And once I was able to find like the correct counselor, which it took me a while to find them, they were like, yeah, that's normal for somebody who's been through your situation. Like that's happened before to other people. And like here I am thinking like, oh, it's just me that this is happening to. But there are actually other people who've been through the same thing. And so like with knowing that, then I was able to like help myself more. And then now I can say I'm in a place where it's like I'm more comfortable talking about it. So this would be like the first time a lot of like friends or family even know about the situation. That was like 8 years ago.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, I know it's a traumatic experience, so I'm treading lightly around the actual subject. How, I don't want to say how did it happen, but more so talk more about, like, were you drunk? Like, so many variables that go into that. Like, you could walk down the street and somebody just come by, like, because I'm always thinking about the 20-year-old girl that could be in that same position, and what my platform or this conversation could do to help that individual now at 20 or now at whatever age they're at now to go out. So I guess I don't know what question I'm trying to form here, but more about like, I guess for prevention in the future, or something that you would advise a person that been in that predicament, like how you talk to yourself through God, like that same type of scenario.
This part of the podcast is sponsored by Titling Your Testimony. Titling Your Testimony is an online workshop series for aspiring authors. Do you want to go from stuck to published in 6 months? Have you started your book and don't know how to finish it? Have you finished your book but unsure of what to do next? Do you keep getting stuck in battling writer's block? Are you tired of making excuses and ready to give birth to your book baby? If you answer yes to any of these questions, this workshop is for you. The workshop is led by Debbie L. London, who is a friend of the Black Mental Health Podcast. She was on episode 13 where she shared her story and her journey with mental health. She was also on episode 20 of the podcast where she went into great detail about how she helped me with my book getting published. So make sure you check out both of those episodes. For more information about Debbie London and the Titling Your Testimony workshop, go to debbiellondon.com/titling and tell her where I sent you. This portion of the podcast is also sponsored by the BYOB Retreat. BYOB stands for Building Your Own Business. BYOB is an ecosystem of entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and creators of color. In its second year, the BYOB Retreat continues to bring together some of the country's most dynamic entrepreneurs, strategists, creatives, and minds for sessions around building your business, scaling your impact, manage your money, and learning to live your best life holistically. They connect the most talented and diverse brands in a culturally inclusive space to help you grow from startup to success. It's more than an event, more than a conference, more than just feelings. It's about leaving your old self behind and returning with new vision, new skills, and new connections for life. Get ready to join over 2,000 plus digital entrepreneurs, modern creators, and diverse, innovative leaders May 24th through the 26th only at hashtag BYOB Retreat in Atlanta, Georgia. For more information about the BYOB Retreat, check out BYOBlive.com and tell them Reg sent you. Now let's get back to the episode.
So no, I wasn't drunk, but the guys were drunk.
Wow.
And it was just like a guy who at the time I trusted, but then it like just ended up turning into like a real nasty situation. And I started thinking like, what is it about me that people want to keep like almost like assaulting me or like disrespecting me or like abusing me? And like I asked myself that question like a lot, like a lot over the years. Sometimes I still ask myself that question, depending on like what situation I'm in. But it's just like, what is it about me that people think it's okay to abuse me in this sense? And I don't really know, like in this world, in this day and age, I don't really know if there's a prevention, because a lot of times rape is more so from somebody who you know versus a stranger. I know like with Law and Order, they make it seem like rape is like somebody who just randomly hops in your window. That's not the case. Like a lot of times it's from somebody who you actually know. And then even sometimes there are some women who don't recognize they've been raped. Because you could be just hanging out with a guy and like you fall asleep and you wake up and like he's touching you or something. But you never gave him permission to touch you. So, and then like I've talked to like, especially college students, I've talked to a couple of females where like I've been in that situation where I didn't know what to do. So I froze and I didn't like make a sound. And it's just like, you gotta recognize that that's rape as well. Because if you didn't get him permission, you were uncomfortable, you didn't want him to do any of that to you. But at the same time, like you're blaming yourself because you didn't speak up. It's like, yeah, I kind of understand that, because you do get afraid in that situation because you don't know what type of, like, you don't know what type of guy that is. You don't know if he's going to like hit you or something like that. But I don't really know like if there's a way to prevent it, except for like if you're on social media and you randomly talking to somebody on Tinder and you're going to meet them, make sure it's a public place. Like you can prevent that. Like I feel like people shouldn't be meeting somebody past a certain time if it's dark and like alleyways, stuff like that. Like you just know not to meet anybody like that. It's like I don't care how long you've been talking to them on the internet. Like meet them in a public place during the day or something like that. Like you can prevent that type of stuff. But like it's almost like when you think you know somebody, but you don't really know them. And this is why I don't like I don't really drink, and I don't like being around drunk people, and particularly I don't like being around drunk guys, because I always tell people like you truly see like how somebody acts, especially drunk, when a guy is drunk, like how he acts towards you, if that makes sense. Especially when I was in college. Because there's just some guys who can drink and just stay there. Like they'll just sit there and mind their business. And then there are some guys who will drink and they'll like start like touching on females or like start fighting. Like it's just kind of crazy. And it's just like, oh, like no, I can't do that. I don't know. I just have a bias towards alcohol, and not even just that, because like in my family as well, like alcohol plays such a big part at every holiday. Like every holiday event, every gathering, alcohol is like such a big part of it. And it's just like I don't get it. Like alcohol is nasty to me. Like all alcohol is nasty to me. Unless it's something really fruity, I cannot drink it. Like it's just nasty. But I don't know, like that experience and like other like family experiences, it just turns me off. But I don't really know if there's actual prevention.
Well, what
trust somebody.
What would you say? Two things. Let me top on one. First off, let me say salute to you for being able to share that portion of your story. I salute you for being confident in yourself and doing this, the healing in the process, because it's not easy to like let people know that. Like you said, a lot of people don't know that. So let me make sure I get that out the way. Second part was, you're right. Alcohol is so ingrained in our society that we don't even know. I was just at a mental health event yesterday, and he was saying like, yo, just watch your favorite TV show and see how many times you see like them taking a drink, or them, like it's so ingrained, it's legal. It's just so entwined with what we are as a society. Three, you're right, all alcohol is nasty, but I don't think people drink for the taste, they drink for the result. Like they just want the feeling of what it gives you. So you're right. I think all of it's nasty. And I was one of those people that, not that I wanted to do anything, I just want to break. Like I just, what they looking at, like, or want to break stuff, like aggressive. It's always aggressive. So I'm like, yo, I don't want to drink because I'm gonna wind up hurting one of these dudes in here. Just off of just like, yo, they trying son us, like they trying to make us look like I'm always on go. So I stopped that. And the fourth thing is, I guess more so I wasn't thinking about prevention, but what advice would you give to your younger self now that you have years experience and wisdom more than where you are right now? Because you said you just started to feel comfortable talking about and putting it in your book. So what advice would you give that young lady in that position?
The one thing I started telling myself is follow my gut more and to stick to what I like, who I am, which is another thing that I battle with, because I feel like throughout certain situations, I didn't stick to my gut or who I was, because there were certain times where I wanted to like try different things, but at the same time, I knew me trying different things wasn't ever going to work because I just kind of know my mindset. So if I had to like go back, I would have told that person not to even be there because I didn't want to be there in the first place. Like I wanted to stay in my room and and watch, I think like a DVD or something, which I should have done, which is why I was so mad at myself. But like people always call me stubborn, and I'm like, yeah, I am. It's for a certain reason because I know like if you taking me to a certain spot, I'm going to get uncomfortable. I'm going to get annoyed, and it's going to be a bad night. So let me not even go because I'm going to mess up your night. Like I don't mind going to clubs or anything, and I don't even mind like hanging around people who are drunk. But if it gets like too many people around me and too many drunk people, then I'm going to remove myself. Like so, like now I'm like sticking to my gut more and doing more stuff that I know I'm comfortable doing versus me like trying to just like step out of the box and do stuff that I almost even say doing stuff that other people were doing that kind of look fun for them though. It wasn't fun for me. Like fun for me is like going to the movies, going to a coffee shop, reading a book, traveling, stuff like that. And that's okay. Like for me, that's who I am. Like I had people who be like, "Oh, you're boring," so and so. I'm like, now I'm just like, like, I'm just gonna be boring because I know I'm not supposed to be in certain situations. Like that's just not for me. I'm glad you enjoy it. I don't enjoy getting drunk, and I don't enjoy getting blackout drunk. Like me as a female, I can never imagine myself being blackout drunk. Like that's a situation because you never know what's happening to you, especially when you just kind of like with nothing but females and all the females around you are blackout drunk. That doesn't make sense. So like I never understood that part in college. So I don't know, like doing certain things now for me it's just like no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to stay in my apartment and I'm just going to sit on the couch or something or work on this project because I can't do that. Yeah.
No, that's great advice. I try to. I know I don't have every experience, so that's why when I got somebody that can talk about a topic from a personal experience, I try to get like some advice from them, and because now I can say, well, I had Erica on the podcast, and this is what she said she did. So I try to get as much advice. Lastly, because I don't want to keep you long. What is your viewpoint, experience, overall opinion on mental health in the Black community?
So I am the only female in my family, and I have two brothers. And I noticed, like me going to counseling and me kind of like just doing my own research, I noticed that both of my brothers deal with like anxiety, depression, and that's a good majority of probably like I want to say Black community, almost at least a Black community I was a part of, and like. Now that I'm older and I can kind of recognize the signs and I've been dealing with it myself, like when I talk to my brothers, I'm like, why don't you just go to counseling? And they'll be like, well, I don't like talking about my feelings. Okay, but you're not doing anything else to help yourself, so I don't get it. Like, why you're not going to counseling? So I keep trying to push them to go, but it's just like, I keep telling them, like, your counselor, like, they care, but only to that hour that you're sitting with them. And then, like, probably after that, they'll help you. But it's not like they're going to sit there and, like, go and tell everybody, Curtis did this, Curtis did that, or something. Like, they don't know you that well. Like, they don't know you to be saying, like, stuff like that. But I want to say our community is very hesitant on fixing them, or not even just, like, helping their mental health, because I feel like throughout the years, we came to believe that we act a certain way because we are Black versus we act a certain way because we think like we're dealing with depression or anxiety or trauma or something like that. I think a good majority of the Black community deals with trauma from like various experiences, especially if you're like from Philly and you're from like all Black neighborhood. You see the guy standing on the corner. You see the shootings at night. You see like the posts that have like teddy bears and pictures all around it. Like that's a traumatic experience, and people still go about their days the same way. It's like you wake up every day, you make the same decision. Why? Because you know, like you're living in, I want to almost call it an infection. There was a time where I was like, I'm living in this infection. Why? So I started to change the way I woke up. Like I stopped waking up like it was an accident. Started waking up like I had a purpose. Or I started like recognizing like if I did this today and I know it doesn't make any sense, why would I do it tomorrow? Because tomorrow is not even promised for certain people or for anybody. So why would I keep wasting my tomorrows if I can just change them to be healthier versus doing the same thing every day? That's why I never understand people who, like, I understand it, but at the same time, I don't. Like, I feel like a good majority of it is fear, a fear to change. But it's like, if you're going to change to better yourself, then those people, whoever you lose throughout that time, weren't even there to see you at your healthiest. So you kind of like surround your people who want to see you at your healthiest, like physically, mentally, and emotionally. And if even if it's family, because there are some family who will try to continue to bring you down. And it's just like, why? You kind of got to like separate yourself. And I like tell people that as well. Like, family is probably some of the most toxic people you can meet because they are your blood, and you got to keep coming around them. And you gotta like, and you want to make sure your family is good, that nothing happens to them. But at the same time, like, family members are also individuals, and they're also individuals who deal with certain things. And some family members just don't want to help themselves, and just like, why can't, like, I can't help you, and I'm trying to help myself. Like, I can't do that. Yeah. So like, our community for sure is like, to me, very hesitant, and I almost kind of want to say fearful of mental health. But I also don't really know if they have like the full education, because I think now in this like 2019 day and age, like I see mental health going around more. And I feel like if you're willing to look for it and willing to help yourself, like you'll find something to help you. So I would say now there's kind of like no excuse for you not to do it besides for maybe your own hesitation.
Nah, it's so true. They say that the teacher come when the student is ready. It's all this information around here. It just, people got to be ready for the information. That's why I didn't want to go to school to be a therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist, all that. I wanted to be that middle ground to make it like, with a story like this, now it makes it more open, and it's like, well, maybe I should think about going to see a therapist. Like, maybe I should start waking up on purpose and doing, like, you start the conversation, you get the mind turning, and then it opens the gate. And on that note, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story, being brave enough to share your story, being confident enough. I know it wasn't easy, and I know it's a lot of days. And like you said, you're still, as is myself, as in everyone, it's an everyday struggle, everyday battle. Tomorrow you may not feel like this tomorrow. Like, and you,
for sure,
a lot of people don't recognize, it's like you don't get quote unquote fixed. You just learn how to embrace it as a part of you. And manage it and deal with it daily. So again, thank you for coming on. Again, hold me to that book. If I forget, tell them in the comments like, yo, he ain't buy it. He not a man, because I'm usually gonna forget. I can promise I'm gonna forget. Hit me up, let me know, because I always want to show love. Make sure y'all go out there and check her book out. Subscribe to the podcast, and remember that this podcast has never been about a replacement to therapy. It's an alternative, and it's a place where people share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening.